Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of the Wise Guys podcast. My name is John Tortorelli with Brandon Capizzello and Justin Ray. Today we have a lot to talk about NFL related. We're going to rank the top quarterbacks in the league. Then after that, we're going to dive into the AFC North, do a little preview action with some predictions. And then we're going to talk about a former AFC North quarterback by the name of Big Ben Roethlisberger. And last but not least, we're going to take a dive into our breakout candidates for the 2022 NFL season. I'm pretty excited for this one. I haven't been able to talk Steelers. We're going to have to dabble in with that. A little bit of our favorite players. We think we're going to have a big season. How you guys doing today? What do you want to break this down?
For Justin to go. Why are you just Justin, you're supposed to go.
Justin, how are you doing today?
I was waiting for you, bro. I'm doing great, man. How are you? Enjoying myself a nice little off day.
Good.
So I've been looking forward to the pod all day, man.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So starting off with the top quarterback, specifically who we think is the best at the position in the NFL. Which of the two of you want to jump in first? Who is the best quarterback in the NFL? Brandon.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to kick us off. All right. So the best quarterback in the NFL today, entering the 2022-23 NFL season, is who it's been the past, 13 years, 15 years, maybe more. It's Tom Brady. All right. It's the GOAT. And I'm going to wait to get into why, because I want to hear if you guys differ, and I want to try to understand where you guys are coming from, because I can't see where you're coming from if you differ.
I disagree. Justin, do you want to dive in first? Because you're the Patriots fan.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think there's been a changing of the guard here. And this time it's another quarterback that now runs the AFC East since Tom Brady left. I think it's Josh Allen. Probably the most exciting quarterback in the game. This guy's hurdling over dudes, throwing bombs down the field. He was a coin flip away from going to the next round in the playoffs. I think the NFL goes through Josh Allen this upcoming season.
Josh Allen. Disagree?
100% disagree. Josh Allen's not even in my top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
That's insulting.
All right. Insulting. Go ahead, John.
When has Tom Brady not had a top 10 offensive line and had ultimate success? Josh Allen has not had that level of, when you're looking at an elite quarterback, they need the system and structure, but they need the guys protecting them up front. We could talk about Tom Brady's weapons after that, but with Brady in Tampa Bay, he has all of the tools any quarterback needs. Bruce Arians isn't there anymore.
But I bring to you this. So you talk about the offensive line for Tom Brady, and that is more gives credit to the offensive line coach in New England. I'm going to talk about that for most of the years, because it was Dante Scarnecchia, and he's highly regarded. He's been getting these guys. We've been drafting people in the 3rd, 5th, 4th round, developing these guys up. So if you want to talk about coaching, Sean McDermott, ring a bell? Has he not turned around the Buffalo Bills as well?
Absolutely, yes.
So I mean, I'm not going to take away anything when you have the talent, because if you're an elite quarterback in this league, you can do something with less, because that is what separates you from good to great. That's what separates them. So I expect Josh Allen to do great things if he's this guy you're talking about with a not so good offensive line. Just like I expect Tom Brady to develop these receivers back in New England for all those years and make them these actually good players when they're really,
Okay, but time out. Why don't you consider him a top 5 quarterback?
Where's the appearance in the championship?
Bro.
Where's the ring?
So is Matthew Stafford better than Justin Herbert?
Yes. Matthew Stafford's a champion, reigning champ.
Do you want to dive in first?
This is a problem, John. John, you probably will agree with me here. I think we put way too much weight on titles in every single sport. Looking at Matt Stafford before this past season, he was barely squeezing into the top 10.
Highly disagree. Everybody knew, all his contemporaries, all his teammates, all the quarterbacks around the league all talked about Matt Stafford has the talent. He doesn't have the team surrounding him. I mean, look at the franchise he played for. It's the Detroit Lions, dude. Barry Sanders ended his career in his prime because he didn't want to play anymore. Calvin Johnson Jr., same thing. Matt Stafford was stuck with let's be honest, a crap franchise that hasn't done jack nothing since when? He finally gets on a team that actually cares about winning, and look what he did. He's a champion, validated.
So we're just ranking quarterbacks off of the ones that win the most, because then by default, Joe Burrow should be he made it further than Tom Brady this last season, right? So if we're ranking quarterbacks right now, Joe Burrow didn't have the same offensive line Tom had. In terms of weapons, they were on the same level. Both have elite weapons. So we're just going to rank Joe Burrow ahead of Justin Herbert, Brady, and Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers too. Is Aaron Rodgers not a top 5 quarterback because he hasn't won a Super Bowl in over a decade? Is that how we're doing this?
No, but he also showed up in the regular season too.
Hold up. So
did Josh Allen.
Josh Allen did just as much as Rodgers the last 2 years in the regular season to be in the MVP race. And the postseason.
But who was the MVP this year?
That's because everybody just
MVP?
glorified his 4 interceptions that Aaron Rodgers thrown. Mind you, he barely threw the ball into traffic. He played the safest game of football ever. Josh Allen was the most dynamic. He should have won MVP this past season in the first place.
No. When Aaron Rodgers, you talk about playing what was the word you used when you talked about Aaron Rodgers and the interceptions? Safe football. Isn't that also smart football? That's smart football.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not using it to say to crap on his game. I'm just saying, like, even voters said it. People on ESPN, people on NFL Network were just glorifying his interception ratio, but Josh Allen did more for his team than Aaron Rodgers did.
And Brandon, here's what I don't understand. We're not or maybe we are evaluating quarterbacks based off of who has the best team around them. But to be sure, the Rams have a better roster than the Bills. Josh Allen's a more mobile quarterback who can make plays on the ground with his legs. He can literally truck a cornerback and get a first down when the play breaks down. He can extend a play just as well as Stafford. He has the same talent. He doesn't have a grandeur team around him, nor is Sean McVay his head coach. Sean McDermott is very good, but I think you can say there's a delineation between those two head coaches. And not only that, but Josh Allen was literally a coin flip away from, in my eyes, making it to the Super Bowl if he was able to play the Bengals in the championship game. So I don't understand the logic behind we're just going to evaluate players based off of team success, because player evaluation is separate from how well your team does. A quarterback can only play so much a role for a squad. Josh Allen can't go out there and stop Patrick Mahomes in overtime. He can only control what's going on at that end of the ball, and he went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. You can argue he was better the last season. He had some down moments just like Mahomes. The two of them were not perfect, but you see with the talent levels of those two quarterbacks and the production the last 2 years, they're on the same level. And honestly, you can make the case Allen is a better quarterback than Mahomes. The only difference is the fact Mahomes has nearly been to the Super Bowl in all 4 years as a starter. He's went there half of the time. 2 for 4.
Winning. That's what I'm saying, though. Winning.
But hold up.
Winning.
No. Winning is not the grand all be all. There's a clear difference when you have the best tight end in the NFL, the best wide receiver, and Andy Reid as your head coach.
Winning's not the end all be all. What do you play to do? When you go into a game and you're an athlete and you're a competitor, do you play to win or you play to lose?
I misspoke. It's when we're ranking players, not the grand all be all. You're totally right. You play to win the game. That's the most important thing. But we're not talking about that right now. We're ranking the best quarterbacks in the NFL, right?
And
so that's what I was speaking of.
Quarterback success.
No, it doesn't. Deshaun Watson. Hold up. Do you think Deshaun Watson was
a great example?
Was he a top 10, top 5 quarterback the last time he played?
Yeah.
So what was his team's record in 2019? Was he good?
It was like 4-12.
Or 2020.
Well, who was gone?
I mean, it was
Who
a
got
very similar
traded?
team.
Yeah, so
DeAndre Hopkins was the only one.
DeAndre Hopkins
but
wasn't there anymore.
That was the only
He
one.
lost his number one target.
That was the
Who
only
else
one.
did he throw to?
That's the
Yeah, so
point.
DeAndre Hopkins, losing him resulted in six more losses.
It did for that season when you get stripped of your best player, and then you're like, oh crap, I don't know.
But
I
that was
gotta
all he
relearn
had.
these-
JJ Watt during Deshaun's peak when he hit it was not consistently healthy. The defense was not what it was before Deshaun got there.
No, it wasn't. No.
The team's
It was an
specialty
offensive
was,
team.
the combination of Hopkins, Will Fuller's number 2, the running game, and then Deshaun. You lose number 1, the entire stack falls apart. That goes to show, maybe a quarterback can only play so much of a role. He was great, and in spite of that, his team was one of the worst in the NFL.
Okay, but again, I'm going to go back to what team did Deshaun Watson play for?
The Houston
name?
Texans.
Okay, that's another crap franchise that doesn't know how to, I guess, do anything because they fumbled the bag how many times?
We're talking
Andre
about quarterbacks.
Johnson was. I understand that, but you brought up Deshaun Watson. You brought up the not success in 4-12. He can only do so much when the franchise is not good.
That's the exact point we're making.
Yeah, that's the point.
A quarterback can only do so much to go to the Super Bowl, to win you a title. You need the team and the talent to supplement their skill set. It goes the same in any other sport.
But what validates my point is look at Matthew Stafford. Detroit Lions for how many over a decade? Crap. Made the playoffs, I think, 3 times, was bounced out every year. He had a really good team like 1 year when he had Reggie Bush as his running back. I think Calvin was still playing, or Calvin wasn't.
And
then what happened when he joined the LA Rams? What happened? What happened this year?
Not to cut you off, you're talking about how trash a franchise Detroit is. We can agree on that. But he also had a prime Calvin Johnson. And by the way, some other talent like Golden Tate, Reggie Bush, there were some other pieces in those years, and those teams are just fine. They're on the same level as those Texans teams, a little bit worse in the NFC North. What I don't understand here is
Jim Schwartz. What's Jim Schwartz
and Caldwell. That's not the main point.
We can get into that at another point. Jim Caldwell never should have been fired. But continue.
When we're ranking a quarterback, it's about how capable you are. How much can you do to bring the wins? They can only impact one side of the ball, and they can only bring so much value to you. But the real question we're asking when we wonder who is the best player at the position is who provides the most value to his team? And skill, leadership, continuity, how available are you?
Okay, but wait, let me stop you right there. That second word you just said, what was it? Leadership. Who's probably arguably the greatest leader of all time?
Tom Brady.
In sports history. Yes, Tom Brady. And that is one of the biggest things in sports is leadership.
You want to know what also is very valuable for a quarterback to be able to do?
What?
Extend a play, because not every quarterback's going to have a top 10 offensive line, in fact.
But
so when you
Brady's
don't have that...
But Tom Brady's also nulled that because he's got the fastest release in the game, and he's got a sixth sense for knowing when somebody's coming off, and he's going to throw the ball away and not take that extra hit. Josh Allen hasn't learned that yet. He still goes out there and runs and extends plays and takes unnecessary punishment. And even Tom Brady was even joking about it.
He's not taking unnecessary punishment.
Yes, he is.
Not to the level of some other guys in the Lamar Jackson.
Not to that level.
Takes unnecessary punishment.
It's going to take a toll. Look at Cam Newton. Cam Newton looked like Superman for how long? Then it started to add up. Those hits add up. You're
100% right. But Josh Allen and Cam Newton are two different things. Cam Newton did not have the arm talent that Josh Allen does.
No, but running wise.
Far from it. Yeah, running wise. Yeah, sure. I would even argue that maybe Josh Allen can exceed him. I think he rushed 760 yards last season.
Something like that, yeah.
So
Jesus Christ.
Brandon, what's your top 5 quarterbacks? I want to hear it.
Okay, so my top 5 goes off like this. I'm going to start from 1 to 5. I got Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, and Russell Wilson. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
You have
Russell Wilson.
Where do you have Mahomes?
Number 3.
And you don't have Josh Allen on there, but you do have Russell Wilson after last season where Russ was injured. and didn't perform. His team missed the playoffs. That he wasn't available.
Yeah,
He's
but
aging.
he also put up solid. I mean, he had a 25 touchdown to 6 interceptions with a.
That's nice.
Let me get this correct: a tendon rupture, a dislocation, and 2 fractures in his throwing hand.
It's impressive, but that's not the point. We just said before, winning's the grand all be all, but we're not going to weigh into consideration Josh Allen almost went to the Super Bowl, whereas his team didn't make the postseason.
But also, if we want to, all right, let's boil it down to what it is. It is who do you want entering it's one season. So age is out of the question. It's who do you want for this one season? Who do you believe you can win with this season? You have the best chance of winning a Super Bowl. That's what it is. And that's what I'm
You can't take age out of this.
Tom Brady. No, I understand that, but it's a top 10 entering this season. It's not a like we're talking over. Like if we're gonna have a draft and we're gonna go for the future, you know what I mean? It's who do I want for this season coming up? We're going season by season. Tom Brady, I want Tom Brady number 1 because he's done it how many times?
But here's another piece of my take. We're not going to price in the fact Tom is 45 years old.
45 in August, yeah.
We're not going to consider that, whereas Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are only refining their game. Like, I feel like when we're having this discussion, at some point, the legacy and the resume you have only holds so much weight because the players coming up are enhancing their games. They can do more physically. Imagine if you put Josh Allen in Tampa Bay and then Tom in Buffalo. Imagine. That's one of my
Tom Brady dominates the AFC East just like Josh Allen did.
You think? What do you think Josh Allen's doing behind that?
He's got Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley is like a common copy of Julian Edelman. You don't think he can do big with him?
I think he can, but the offensive line's worse, and at his age.
But like I said before, Tom Brady's got the fastest release in the NFL. He's got a sixth sense for understanding when somebody's coming in. He's going to throw the ball away and not take that extra hit, that unnecessary hit. He's not going to do it. I've seen it.
It's a valid point. But Josh can do more physically. He can extend a play.
Okay.
He can get you a first down.
He's a 7-time champion. What's Josh Allen done?
That's very true. But the NFL has changed. In today's NFL right now, everybody wants a quarterback like Josh Allen. Everybody wants one like Justin Herbert or Mahomes who do extend those plays, who are going to rush for over 300, 400 yards also. It's very important. I mean, think about it right now. I'm a Patriot fan. You're a Patriot fan. When we acquired Cam Newton, you can't lie. There was a part of you that was like, honestly, I'm a little excited to see our quarterback escape the pocket and maybe rush for a touchdown a couple times. Like maybe this might expand the offense a bit. And this isn't a knock on Tom Brady at all. I love Brady. I mean, I owe him all my joy. I got a bunch of championships from him. But it's not a knock. I just think that in today's NFL, what makes you most valuable is where you are able to run. You are able to pass. Like John says, extend the play. And I don't think anybody in the NFL does it better than Josh Allen.
Okay, so I just want to, since you guys keep coming at me with this winning, which I'm still sticking with, but also let's go with the numbers then, right? For this past season, let's go for the numbers. What happened last season? Josh Allen, 63% completion percentage. Good, but not great. 4,407 yards, really good. 36 touchdowns to 15 interceptions, a little high on those interceptions, don't you think? 61 QBR, that's good. And then you want to add in the 763 yards rushing and 6 rushing touchdowns. 11-6 record.
I'm going to be honest.
Let's go to Tom Brady, right? Because we want to go with stats, right? Tom Brady, second team All-Pro. Josh Allen didn't get an All-Pro. He wasn't an All-Pro. It was Aaron Rodgers' first team and then Tom Brady. So even the voters agree with me. Led the league in passing yards. Led the league in touchdowns. 67% completion percentage. That's 4% higher points than Josh Allen. 5,316 yards. That's almost 1,000 yards more than Josh Allen. 43 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. 3 less picks. 7 more touchdowns. And a 68 QBR with a 13-4 record.
You notice how you're the first one so far to mention the stats? Because Justin and I were not even going to look at them. We know the numbers. that can fool you so many times. Like we talked about before, if winning is the grand all be all, the numbers that Rodgers put up mean nothing. They don't hold any weight. So why are we going to stack that up to defend your case?
My whole thing is not that. My whole thing is you take everything into consideration. You take in winning, you take in accomplishments, and you take in accolades, and you take in the stats of what they do.
But you didn't
see on the field.
Not once right there did you mention capability to diversify an offensive portfolio. You need to be able to have different looks. That doesn't mean
anything when Tom Brady can do just as much as Josh Allen, even though Josh Allen can run like freaking
Brandon,
running back.
That's the exact point. You just did it right there. Brady may have mastered what he can control, but physically there are things Josh Allen can tap into that most players at the position cannot. And so the fact you have Matthew Stafford over him as well befuddles me. Because of the simple fact, Matthew Stafford athletically is not doing the same things as a Josh Allen or a Justin Herbert. Those guys can tap into a deeper level at the position that few can. That's the whole thing I'm getting at. Because when you have that player and you put him in a place but the offensive line, the talent around him, the scheme that can maximize his ability to extend a play, make any sort of throw you want down the field or in short yard situations, can lead your team at the end of a game, what you're going to need is more diversity, versatility in your game, right? Because if you put Tom Brady in places like Pittsburgh or New York where the offensive line isn't good, can he elevate a team the same way a Josh Allen can?
We've seen it in his early days in New England.
But he
won
the
3
difference.
championships with a defense-led team, and his offense wasn't really that good.
We're not talking about what he did 15 years ago.
O-line back then too.
We're not talking about what he did 15 years ago. And even still, has there ever been a point in Tom Brady's career where he's not had one of the better offensive lines? Has there ever been a point? As a Patriots fan, you guys know better than me. Has there ever been a point where he's not had one of the better offensive lines?
No, but again, I'm not taking that away. You can take that away from him. You can discredit him for that. I will not, because that goes to coaching and drafting. And you want to have a good coach if you want to have a crap coach.
But not every player is afforded that. That is the difference. And so while Brady is always
Josh Allen is afforded that. He's got Sean McDermott.
Sean McDermott is not a top 10 offensive line.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying as a coach, for coaching-wise, he's a very good head coach in this league.
Did I mention the coach? I'm talking about the offensive line.
He's an excellent coach.
That accounts to also coaching too. Yes, the player's got to play, but the coach's got to coach him up as well. It's 50-50. And who's got to draft him?
Shout out to Brian Daboll as well. He's definitely one of the best coaches for developing a young quarterback. We saw that with Josh and also his time at Alabama with Tua. But again, I'm talking about the talent around those guys. I think it's blasphemous that you have Matthew Stafford inside your top 5 over Allen when he has had the production you listed, the winning, the accomplishments. He's been by far a top 3 or 4 level.
Where's the accomplishment?
Let me replace that word with gravitas.
He's got one second-team All-Pro, and that's it.
Well, that's an accomplishment.
And then I think a couple Pro Bowls.
Let's replace that word with gravitas. He has hit a level no other quarterback can actually reach outside Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, and that is it.
No, that's not true. Matthew Stafford can make any throw that those 3 guys can make.
What can he do athletically that those guys can? Let me know.
Matthew Stafford has been running out of the pocket. What are you talking about? You want to pull up the highlight tapes? He's had
his rough moments just like those guys. And
yes,
though he has the better
those too. Let's remember that Aaron Rodgers was these guys before these guys even were in the league. When they were in diapers, Aaron Rodgers was doing these things.
But we're not talking about when they're in diapers. They're now grown men playing NFL
I understand that, but I'm just saying.
The point is, you're completely disregarding the athleticism and the tools that teams covet to extend an offense, and like I said before, diversify it. To me, my top 5 quarterbacks would be number 1, Josh Allen, number 2, Patrick Mahomes, number 3, Justin Herbert, number 4, Tom Brady, and number 5, Aaron Rodgers. Right outside of that discussion
this guy's got two guys
Let's
in
hear
his top 5 with 0 appearances in the championship game and 0 titles.
Because you want to know why? Winning is not a quarterback stat. They can only do so much.
Yes,
They can only
is. They
control
have
the game.
ball in their hand,
Justin Herbert
basically.
has
every
been
offensive play, the ball gets snapped to them.
Justin Herbert has easily been a top 7 quarterback the last 2 years, and I'm also praising the fact he's going to get better. He is 23 years old, 24. He is only going to improve, refine elements of his game.
You're projecting.
You think he's going to get worse after one of the greatest rookie seasons we've ever seen? Maybe the greatest I've seen.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying anything can happen. We don't know. I do think that he's going to get better, but I'm not going to be like, oh, that's a guarantee because anything can happen.
We're pricing in the fact that with how great he has been, how special he is as a player, he's only going to find elements to refine. That's all. Outside that top 5 discussion, I have Russ and Lamar right there. Then I have Stafford. I have Joey B, Kyler.
What?
I got Joey B above Kyler too, by the way.
Okay, that's fair. I do too. I actually have Derek Carr above Kyler.
That's an interesting one. I didn't mention Deshaun Watson. I don't really want to talk about him.
Carr is in your top 10.
Oh, absolutely, man.
That crazy.
Well, how many teams would kill for Derek Carr as their quarterback right now? You're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Would you take him right now?
I would do many things to have Derek Carr because the Steelers would be an 11 or 12 win team.
Justin, when you have dirt, anything sounds better. All right. I'm sorry.
Hold up.
I'm not being disrespectful, but let's be honest.
Hold up.
Trubisky.
Did you just see the team that Derek Carr took to the postseason with all the turbulence? You love leadership, don't you? You like your leadership, do you? Because when it comes to leadership, he is one of the 3 best. He's a way. I don't want to disrespect some of the other top quarterbacks, but when you look at Aaron Rodgers as a vocal leader and you compare that to Derek Carr, the way he can galvanize an offense, to me, it's a no-brainer who I'd rather have running my locker room. Derek Carr is one of the best motivators at the quarterback position, and in terms of ability, he just led a Raiders team, which was probably one of the 10 worst rosters in football, with all kinds of historical turbulence to the postseason. He was almost won a playoff game with that team.
Mm-hmm.
Darren Waller has been exceptional in moments, but last year, defenses were able to scheme him out of their offense, and he found a way to make it work with Hunter Renfrow. Maybe it was A. Jones. Bryan Edwards. Bryan Edwards is, in all due respect, the most mid-receiver of all the young guys at the position. He's fine. He's like, I don't know, think like the most average thing. And he took that below-average roster to the postseason. Josh Jacobs is another example. Good pick, solid running back. There's nothing special about those 2 guys. There's some of his biggest targets.
I think after this past season, he really elevated himself in my eyes. That's why I plugged him in at 10. I mean, this upcoming season with Devontae Adams now on the outside with Hunter Renfrow there and Darren Waller, man, I think that offenses could do scary things, man.
Guess what? Better. It better. Produce.
Oh, you're right. You're right. 100%.
Now win. Now it's time to win, right? You got the talent. You got the stuff. The Gruden drama is out the door in the rear view, right? You got Devontae, your number 1. You still got Hunter Renfrow. You got a top 5 tight end in the league in Darren Waller. You got a Josh Jacobs, who's a Pro Bowl running back on any given day. Produce.
Well, he has won 12 games before breaking his leg with a playoff caliber team, and that team was one of the best.
He wouldn't have done anything in that year.
Well, we'll never know. As you said, you're just projecting, right?
Sure.
We are back. Next up is our AFC North preview and predictions as to what we expect forecasting the 2022 season. And if you don't know anything about me, I am a big-time Pittsburgh Steelers fan. You see the Big Ben jersey in the background. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is not homerism. You may think it is. But I think people are sleeping on the Steelers. They have now built the most expensive defense in the NFL. And when you look at their roster, to me, it has massively improved from last season, as has the rest of the AFC. The AFC, excuse me. But there's one big thing with this team. Two, actually. Because the second is pretty notable that everyone seems to forget, and I don't know how. That show me this is easily a playoff team next year. They may not win 12 games, and the quarterback position may be a concern or a question to some people because it's an unknown. But when you look at Mike Tomlin-led teams, everyone always counts them out. Always. Few expected the Steelers to make the postseason last year, and even in 2020 when they got off to a hot 11-0 start, many people didn't have them making the playoffs that year. And even still, they're one of the top seeds in the AFC. And it was because of many injuries and a lack of a running game that their team fell apart at the end of the year. But now we have a running game. We have Najee Harris, who, if you look at reports, he is as built as a lion. And now we're building an offensive line to supplement his ability as a runner. We bring in James Daniels. We sign Mason Cole. We add depth. All of those young starters that last year were coming in for the first time have a year of experience and cohesion playing together. Like at Chuks Okorafor, here's the best offensive lineman. He is just 25 years old, even though he started for 4 years. So you can say he's still got more left in the tank to improve. He just switched from left to right tackle. You look at all the development on the offensive line. James Daniels is a quality young guard. There's going to be competition on the offensive line. Last year, we were starting Kendrick Green, a third-round pick, who basically had the job handed to him, and it was one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a rookie offensive lineman. Just was not ready to go out there. In week 1, we can see that all the way to the last week he started. But now at the Steelers' offense, they have built a capable offensive line with a mobile quarterback, whether it be Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, to accentuate the skills of all the talent in their offense. Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth in his second season, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and I haven't even mentioned the rookie receivers we added. To me, their offense is going to be one of the more dynamic with the speed and elusiveness of Deontay Johnson, Calvin Austin. You know like that?
John. I'm sorry, John.
Right. Somebody, hold on.
I just can't ever say that a team is a shoo-in for playoff contention when we don't even know who's going to be their quarterback.
But
if Mitchell Trubisky is going to be your starting quarterback, and this, it's not a shot at him, because I think he's had some bright spots in Chicago and some very, very low ones. But I can't say right now, looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, oh, this team is going to the playoffs when I don't know who's under center.
But that's the very thing. In 2018, Matt Nagy won Coach of the Year, winning 12 games with Mitch Trubisky. We have Mike Tomlin. The difference is, in 2019, Matt Nagy tried to have Mitch do more. He tried to have him kind of play out of his box, in a way. The Steelers are not going to ask him to make all kinds of throws. He's a proper scheme fit with their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada. That's why, and that creatively, right as free agency began, he was immediately in Pittsburgh. They were eyeing him up because he was the right scheme fit. Last year, we had the worst offense in the NFL to start games, and we're always playing from behind. And Ben Roethlisberger was capable to keep us in games in the fourth quarter. But now we can get up ahead. All of a sudden, we're able to run the ball a little bit more effectively with Najee Harris. And you know the Steelers, they can draft wide receivers as well as any team. The only one that's even in that class is Minnesota, and to me, there's no other team that can stack up with them. That is how effectively they have utilized their draft capital on that position. You add in 2 rookie receivers. One is a speedster, but to me, he's closer to a Tyreek Hill than he is a Dre Archer and Calvin Austin III out of Memphis. He's 5'7", 5'8", but he's got burners. And Matt Canada is going to utilize him as a threat with his speed.
John, after this whole soliloquy you went through, so you're saying the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win the division?
Not
Is that
yet.
what you're saying? Okay. Because you're going into this whole soliloquy, you're talking about all the positive, you're putting the sugar, the sugar candy, you're living in Candyland right now.
Can I finish?
Let's be honest, though. Talk about the quarterbacks honestly.
I'm going to get to that in a moment. If the Steelers can run the ball effectively, which they have not been able to do in years, since Le'Veon left, and their defense, which is the most expensive in the NFL, is healthy. TJ Watt was Defensive Player of the Year, and he missed basically 6 games playing through injuries, all kinds, and he had a historic season still. We just extend Minka Fitzpatrick to a record-breaking safety deal. We're bringing back the same starters, and we're adding depth. Injuries have plagued the Steelers through the years, the last 2 or 3. Now we're adding a little bit of versatility. We're getting a little youth in there. We just signed from Cincinnati, one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL, Larry Onajobi. He was averaging, or was constantly getting pressure last year, helping Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals. They had him in. They had Miles Jack, Levi Wallace from Buffalo. These are all starting caliber young players. And there's a youth movement going on in Pittsburgh where there's no hole on the team except for one question, and that is the quarterback position.
That's the biggest question mark.
Thank you.
But can you win without a quarterback? The Steelers almost won 10 games. If it weren't for Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph in 2019, choking the year away, losing the last 3 games. We're 8-5 with those guys. Why? Because we had an opportunistic defense. They're able to get the lead.
John, but all right, yes, you can win without a good quarterback. Yes, okay. But the real question is, I mean, we're not playing just to win games. We're playing to every team's aspirations before the seasons, no matter if they're bad or the favorites. They want to win a championship that year. That's the end goal. Can you win a Super Bowl without a good quarterback? The answer in today's NFL is no.
But how often do we see a team miss the playoffs with one of the 5 to 7 or 10 best coaches and one of the best defenses, with a good amount of talent to supplement those quarterbacks? You look at Mitch Trubisky, let's say he's the starter week 1 in Chicago, his best weapons were Tariq Cohen. Now he's got Najee. Pat Freiermuth's going to have a big-time year in year 2. He had Ben Roethlisberger throwing in the ball. Ben was not able to throw to the middle of the field last season. Not only that, Pat had 2 concussions as a rookie, and to start the season, he was coming off the bench for Eric Ebron. These young guys in Pittsburgh are fueling this retool because we don't rebuild. The Steelers consistently find talent through the draft. And the unique thing is the youth movement in the wide receiver room, the growth and development of their offensive line, and most importantly, the tutelage and the way Mike Tomlin can develop and get the most out of his talents. Mike Tomlin is an elite head coach, and never, ever, in the last, 5-7 years, has he disappointed in the regular season. Through all kinds of injuries, he's found ways to never have a losing season once. In 2019...
See, I believe there's no disputing how great of a coach Mike Tomlin is. Any coach, any team would take him any day. But like I said, I think the big question mark is going to stay on the quarterback position because as high expectations that you're putting on your own team, there's only so far that this rookie QB, Kenny Pickett, can take these guys. Or Mitchell Trubisky, who, one, doesn't have the IQ that Ben Roethlisberger had. This guy might be throwing the ball into trouble every game. It's not – you guys play in a division where the Baltimore Ravens are going to bring a tough defense. That's nothing to sleep on. Cincinnati, they're going to bring tons of pressure. I don't know if guys like that. Mitchell Trubisky's young. He hasn't started a game since when? It's been a while.
Yeah. So Mitchell Trubisky I liken him to kind of a Mark Sanchez type, right? Except he's probably more athletic. Mark Sanchez got to, I believe it was back-to-back AFC Championship games, but it wasn't because of Mark Sanchez. It was because of the running game with LaDainian Tomlinson and Sean Green, and that defense with Darrelle Revis, the second greatest cornerback of all time, not to mention Antonio Cromartie, Rex Ryan with a great defensive scheme. The reason they didn't get to the Super Bowl was what? Mark Sanchez. So you can't. I'm sorry, John. I understand you got the rose-colored glasses on, right? But it's just, yes, you can make the playoffs, and that's fine and dandy. If that's that would be a successful season for the Steelers if they made the playoffs. That's like, oh my God, wow, we made the playoffs, Jesus. But I mean, don't get your hopes up, okay? Just don't get your hopes up. Because I expect them to miss the playoffs.
With their versatility on offense.
Yeah.
Because I think we're sleeping on.
For me, that's fine. I'm not sleeping on the team around the quarterback. I understand. You guys got great linebackers. You've got a pretty damn good defensive backfield. You've got the receivers. You've got the running back. You've got a solid tight end who's grown up that you were right about, Pat Freiermuth, who I laughed at you for when we were doing our fantasy football draft. I laughed at you for drafting him, but you were right. He came on in the end. I admit it.
That was
for me, it's just you can't trust the quarterback, and that's my whole thing. And that goes back to our first topic that we were talking about. Quarterback is the most important position on the field. If he's not good and you don't trust him, then you're going nowhere. So for me, it goes Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. And Cleveland's got a big question mark because if Deshaun Watson plays, or if he, let's say he gets banned 8 game suspension and comes back, they could make a run. But I'm not ready to get on that horse because it's too many question marks.
Can I?
The only thing that I would change is I actually have Baltimore number 1, Cincinnati number 2, Pittsburgh 3, Cleveland 4.
Wow.
Could I add one thing?
Mhm.
Is the quarterback position really a concern or a question mark for the Steelers? Is it a concern?
Yes.
Because Mitchell Trubisky was a Pro Bowler in 2018 when he had the support around him. When
I believe
the
he was
offense,
a Pro Bowl alternate. I think he was a Pro Bowl alternate.
but he had a quality season in year 2 within the constructs of what the Bears were asking him to do. They weren't asking him to make throws down the field.
Sanchez style. And then where does that get you?
But that's the point. The Steelers can eat. Their team is better than that 2018 Bears team on paper, and they have a much better head coach in Mike Tomlin. And not only that, but this team is young. They're only going to get better on both ends with added depth. They have veterans who have been in the league for a long time, but many of these guys in the offense are all in their mid-20s. You look at the dynamicism of the Steelers' offense. Deontay Johnson's playing on a contract year. Chase Claypool, for the first time, could have a quarterback who can actually get out the pocket, and when the play dies, can get him the football. Then you look at George Pickens, who would have been a first-round draft pick if he didn't tear his ACL, and he's had some crazy moments in college where people said this could be a top 15 pick if it weren't for that ACL injury. We had a burner. Najee Harris is a beast of a young running back. To me, you can already make a case he's top 10.
Yeah,
and you have the young tight ends. What is missing? The offensive line should be solid.
The quarterback.
The
But the
most
quarterback,
important position on the field,
with
John.
less support, that quarterback made a Pro Bowl. And he was
Pro
3
Bowl
years
was
younger.
blown up.
Probably.
That's
Pro
reasonable.
Bowl's
But
blown up.
he's-
Mac Jones made the Pro Bowl. He had no
That's what
place
I'm
in.
saying. The Pro Bowl doesn't mean as much as it did back then. It doesn't. Let's be honest.
I agree.
Because people sit out all the time.
I agree.
Tom Brady's been voted for the Pro Bowl freaking 15 times or whatever. He hasn't played in the last whatever. Like it's a wash. I'm sorry. You don't have a quarterback, so you're not going to go anywhere. And especially when you see the leaps that Cincinnati made last year, what shocked me with Zach Taylor as the coach too. The team shocked me with a terrible offensive line. And they added, let me get this right. They added to the offensive line Alex Kappa, who's a champion with the Bucks, played with Tom Brady, so he's learned a couple things. Ted Karras, a 2-time champ who played with Tom Brady as well as the center, probably learned a couple things. Hayden Hurst as a tight end, and Lyle Collins as your tackle. Those are major upgrades, and they still have 3 starting caliber wide receivers.
I agree with the offensive line. That was a big-time upgrade, but I don't know if Hayden Hurst is an upgrade over CJ Uzomah.
No, he's not. He's not. But he's a solid tight end. You lose CJ, I understand that. That sucks, but what are you going to do? But Hayden Hurst is just he can give you production. I'm not saying he's going to be freaking.
He can put up some solid numbers at tight ends.
Yes.
I think that's all very reasonable, but I'm going to rest on the simple facts.
Last year.
I agree on the Bengals' offensive line, but now they got to prove it again. They did not have a hard schedule last season. They're coming off a year where there was no expectation. Joe Burrow, he was amazing the second half of the season. Unironically, the second half of that full 1-year time frame post ACL surgery. But at the same time, now the Bengals have to do that again. They have to remain at the top of the division because the only reason they made the playoffs last year was because of how battered the Steelers and Ravens were by injuries. If it weren't for that, there's a good chance.
And Cleveland.
And Cleveland too, excuse me. The Bengals could have won 8 games last year, opposed to 11. Or was it 10? Yeah. So to me...
Listen, they listen, and sometimes in this game, everybody always says, listen, to win a championship or to get to a championship, to make a deep run, you got to have a little luck go your way too. And they were the last team standing out of that division. But I think we've all since our previous topic, we all agreed that Joe Burrow's a top 10 quarterback, right? And he's only going to get better. Like, I think we all, for me personally, this season showed a lot. I love the swagger. I love the confidence. Talk about leadership. This kid he's winning championships throughout his career. Just believe that. All right. Book that. So we believe he's going to get better. He's still got Jamar Chase, who balled out last season, T. Higgins, and not to mention Tyler Boyd as their third receiver.
That's easily the best wide receiver trio in the NFL.
Yes.
I don't think it gets better.
Like, since he is making leaps and bounds, especially with the addition of offensive line, I believe Lamar is going to return to some type of form. They still have to figure out the receiver position. It's a weird thing. They still got Mark Andrews, who's, I believe, top 5, at least top 6 tight end in the league. He's a touchdown machine. This guy just catches touchdowns. That's what he does. All right. So, and they drafted this kid out of Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton, safety, 6'4", 220, dude. That if he's able to be what they expect him to be, talk about a Cam Chancellor type.
That's one of the things. That's why I don't understand why people sleep on Baltimore. Okay, yeah, they finished last in their division with 8 wins, but I get the questions with the wide receiving core, but everything else surrounding that team is definitely Super Bowl worthy. Like, yes. I think if Lamar Jackson's passing does improve, and he's playing smart, I think this Baltimore team can contend with Kansas City, can contend with Buffalo, and they should have been the last 2 years. I don't know what Julio Jones is still doing sitting on his couch. I'm waiting for them to give him a call already.
They could. That'd be a big addition.
But at the same time, how necessary is the receiver position to their offense? It may add more to their ceiling, but we've seen they don't need a receiver to win 12, 13 games.
No.
They have a young one, Rashad Bateman, who can very definitely be a number 2 at the very least. And they got the tight ends. You add the running backs being healthy. J.K. Dobbins was a stud.
Gus Edwards back, Justin Hill. All 3 are returning.
And here's the thing with Lamar Jackson. The Ravens were the best team in the AFC North before he got injured. I went to the Steelers game at home where they came back and they beat the Ravens, and from that point they lost out to end the season, but they were 7-3, 7-2. And through his entire career, he has a 75% winning percentage. People will joke around about his play style, but the dude is the epitome of a winner. He's an MVP. I don't want to hear all the other backlash with his arm, because last year's arm was better before injuries. Now he has a full offseason, a longer one where he could recover and continue to strengthen that arm. There are some crazy clips I saw of him kneeling down, launching the ball like 60 yards down the field. As a Steelers fan, we've had his number. He beat us one time. He could barely beat Duck Hodges, barely. But in all seriousness, as he continues to grow as a thrower of the football, that's only going to be a tougher matchup for the rest of this division. And the Steelers defense, let me tell you, they have a lot of success against Lamar. He struggles a little bit against them. But at the same time, as a fan, I'm horrified.
Yeah. See, that's why I know how you questioned if wide receiver is that important in their offense. But come postseason time, defenses zero in on your strength. You know, he's not going to be able to run the football nearly as much as he does in the regular season. So I think adding a big guy like a Julio, I get Odell's out for a while, but they need to get themselves another guy on the outside that he can just throw the ball up to and be like, hey, you know, that's my prayer. I'm throwing it up to Julio. You have a little bit more confidence there if you're a Ravens fan.
They're not drafting a receiver. They were trying to get Calvin Austin with one of their 4 fourth-round picks, and the Steelers took him the selection before, and there's a clip that went viral. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, where one of the people in the war room was a little bit disappointed that the Steelers got him. And now guess what? Calvin Austin, he's just going to be a reserve for the Steelers. Gain some ancillary reps. On the Ravens, he would have been their number 2. I'm just saying, the Steelers have a knack for receivers, and the one time the Ravens think they got a special one, well, Steelers snagged him from them. So Justin, what's your top 4 again? I believe you said it before, but I forgot what it was exactly.
Yeah, I have Baltimore finishing in 1st, Cincinnati 2, and then your Pittsburgh Steelers 3, Cleveland finishing in 4th.
The Browns. What a strange way to try to predict the AFC North when you have
Yeah,
that.
you really can't. I'm just assuming that Deshaun Watson won't be playing quarterback there, so I got him finishing last. And we don't know
Yeah.
the situation behind Baker Mayfield either, so it's pretty tough.
Because Cleveland, the way they set up, the way they structured that contract, it's the base salary, $1 million. So he doesn't lose anything, really. All of the extra money for his deal is just bonuses, guaranteed. And so the Browns set up that way. In the event he got suspended this season, he would still make all the money. So they try to outplay the system. I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL responded to that by saying, okay, you guys want to do that? We'll suspend him for next season when the base salary may be a little bit bigger. But it's such a strange thing to evaluate. Deshaun Watson, as the leader of my football team, he's had some special moments in Houston. There's pressing allegations about his 30-plus masseuses, I believe the number was. I don't understand that at all. Quite frankly, with Deshaun, I don't even want to add anything to that discussion because I feel like there's nothing new to add in terms of value.
Yeah, it's a big question mark, huge question mark.
I think the Browns this season, if they got Jacoby Myers, let's say, starting the first 7 or 6 games, can they still make the playoffs if they have Deshaun for the last 10? With the curve of him being thrown in?
Who's their back? No, they have Jacoby Brissett as their backup now.
That's what I said.
Oh, I
you
thought,
said
okay.
Jacoby
I misheard
Myers.
you.
You said Jacoby
Okay, yeah,
Myers.
she did say
Wait, did
Jacoby
I?
Myers.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, that's why I was like, wait. But yeah, Jacoby
He's ready
Brissett.
for the AFC East episode.
He's juiced up, ready to get his first touchdown.
No, but he's a solid backup quarterback who can win some games, but he's not gonna take it anywhere. I mean, what a fall from grace for Cleveland. I mean, for me personally, I think it was this past year before the season started. I'm gonna be honest, I picked Cleveland to be in the Super Bowl. That team, if you look at the team on paper last year before the season started, before the injuries, whatever started and drama and whatever, that team on paper was possibly the best team in the NFL, matching the Rams, on paper wise. It just a fall from grace, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at their last playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs, they were so close to winning that game. And we might be looking at Baker Mayfield and the rest of that Cleveland organization a whole lot differently today.
Yep.
The one thing with that Browns roster, though, that I don't see people talk about enough, we touched on this with the Ravens. The receiver position to the Browns, to me, was more of a necessity because Baker Mayfield was not Lamar Jackson. And outside Jarvis Landry, they just had a bunch of solid options. And Donovan's People-Jones, Rashard Higgins. You add in Amari Cooper. After that, it's David Bell coming in as a rookie. Jakeem Grant, Donovan Peoples-Jones. They're still very thin in the receiver room.
Yeah.
And Amari Cooper
They do have David Njoku at tight end, Harrison Bryant, I believe. So that's a solid pairing right there. But yeah, receiving wise, it's Amari or bust.
And Amari busts very often in games. He can have moments where he's one of the 5 to 7 best receivers in the game, and then there's others where forgetting he's even on the field. And there are moments in Dallas where you're saying, is he the number 2 here? Or the number? If you have him on a fantasy football team, I'm sure you're loving him some weeks.
Yeah.
Other weeks you wish you never drafted him, but that's not about fantasy football. To me, Amari Cooper's not a receiver number 1 by any stretch. He's just not consistent enough. And you're paying him a good amount of money, too. It's not a rookie contract by any stretch. Yep. And so to me, I'm saying to myself, Deshaun Watson offensively, he's really just going to have the offensive line in the running game because the receiver is not going to be better than what he had in Houston. At least there, he still had Will Fuller as number 2 as well. So I look at that Browns team.
He's also never had a running game this good either.
Yeah, this is the best running game in the league. Let's be honest. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb.
Kareem out of the backfield catching passes too will play a big role.
You got Kareem Hunt as your backup running back, you're winning. You know what I mean? You're winning.
Yeah, that definitely helps. I just say to myself, they have a lot of pieces to add in that receiver room, and defensively they have a lot of young talents, but we got to see those guys prove themselves. It's an unproven unit. And they have a superstar. They have 2, and Myles Garrett. And Denzel Ward, is he a superstar? He's elite.
I consider he's paid like one.
He's paid one, yeah. I think those two guys are absolute studs at their position. Jadeveon Clowney's good, solid. I don't think he's that guy necessarily, but he's a solid starter.
He's not the number one pick that we thought he was going to be. But
yeah, he's a name too.
He's a good piece to complement Myles Garrett. That's about it.
I'm excited for JOK too in year 2. I think he was a guy I wanted the Steelers to draft badly, and between him, Greg Newsome, Grant Delpit will be healthy this season. I'm pretty excited to see, even as Steelers fans, how those guys develop, because if they do prove themselves, the Browns' defense could be one of the better ones in the league, no problem. So that's a fascinating, very fascinating unit to look at, I think, defensively. Yeah. Now, Brandon, we were talking about this. I don't know if it was in voice memos a few months back. It was over the Steelers' former quarterback and Ben Roethlisberger.
Yep.
And the discussion, it got pretty heated a little bit, and we didn't fully dive in. And the question I have for you, Brandon, is Ben Roethlisberger a first-ballot Hall of Famer?
So what's crazy about this is you're not the only Steelers fan or football fan I've had this heated, and I mean heated debate with. Couple people. But I'm going to actually flip it to you guys because I want to hear where you guys coming from. So I'm going to ask you guys, is Ben Roethlisberger a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, can I hear your reasons why?
When looking at a player making the Hall of Fame, accolades and success mean a lot. You won MVP.
Wait, time
that's
out.
Great.
Before you start, not just Hall of. We're not. Let's be specific. First ballot. Continue.
When you look at the best of the best, are going to be first ballot Hall of Famers. They got to have the accolades and the success, the numbers, an MVP, all of that stuff. But what we tend to discount is the impact they had on the game. Let's look at Ben Roethlisberger's career and what he left behind. He is the most sacked quarterback ever. When he makes the Hall of Fame, because he's going to, he will be the most sacked of all time. He'll be the heaviest, the biggest. How often did we see guys at 6'5", 235 plus, scrambling at the pocket, throwing an offensive or a defensive linebacker off his shoulder, extending a play when it all breaks down, and then flaying it 40 yards down the field across the sideline to Heath Miller or another receiver? The way he played the game at the position revolutionized what a quarterback is. Now today we're looking for a guy who can extend the play. You watch Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert. These are bigger quarterbacks that all have the physical tools to make a play on the ground. They can extend it. They can break a tackle. They can then fling the ball across the field because they got the arm strength, the talents. They've also got that X factor too. When you look at moments, Ben Roethlisberger has irrefutably one of the greatest Super Bowl moments we will ever see. One of the greatest throws in NFL history, not NBA. And when you look at that Super Bowl he won with the Steelers, and then you look at the first one, where he made a game-saving tackle against Peyton Manning when it was all on the line. 3 years into the league, 2 years in, helping the Steelers get to the Super Bowl. When you look at moments, stuff that defines legacies, he was there. In his last season, he led the NFL at 39 years old in fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives. He was limited, and yet still, he found a way to get his team to the postseason. He was the utmost winner. He went to the Super Bowl 3 times in 6 years. Won 2 of them. He added 2 of them to not just any trophy case, but the Pittsburgh Steelers trophy case. And the issue I have is everyone likes to compare him to the best of the best. Who was the best at their best? And we know that's Tom Brady. He is the greatest of all time. And that's the exact issue. We're comparing a guy like Michael Jordan to the other players in the 90s. He clears the rest. But then that takes away from the greatness of a Hakeem Olajuwon. And the same exact thing can be said of Ben Roethlisberger. He was one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in his time. His legacy. He wasn't Phillip Rivers numbers-wise. He had seasons like it, but unlike Phillip, he went to the Super Bowl 3 times. He played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he was the exact emblem of what Pittsburgh is. Pittsburgh is not about glitz and glamour. He represented it. He would enjoy himself, eat a burger or two, sip a beer. That's who Ben Roethlisberger was. That's who he is. His personality's not going on keto diets like Brady and all of that, and that's not what Pittsburgh is. You ever go to Pittsburgh? They're not doing that garbage. They're enjoying themselves. Ben Roethlisberger did that, and he was the theme of the city. They're naming burgers after him. How many other quarterbacks have that? And at the same time, he's winning at the highest level. How many times missed the playoffs? Twice? 3 times? And even still, never, ever when he was the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers were they out of the fight. He was one of the toughest quarterbacks in the game, and that toughness with his talent levels and his physical build created one of the most storied NFL careers we have ever seen. But just because he played in the same time as Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, we're going to forget his greatness with Mike Tomlin and Bill Cowher? I don't understand that. The fact he was that winner?
Okay. So Justin, do you want to go?
Yeah, it's tough to follow up the Pittsburgh faithful over there. But hear me out. So I think when you look at Big Ben, it's very easy. You compare him to his draft class. You look at Eli Manning, you look at Phillip Rivers. Now, quick question, just yes or no. Are those 2 quarterbacks Hall of Famers in your eyes?
Yes, they are. Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer, not a first-ballot. And I think Phillip Rivers is on the cusp, but I think at some point he will get in because of his longevity numbers.
Brandon, yes or no? Are they both no? Or
no.
Both?
Yeah, no. Both no.
Okay. In my eyes, I see them both as Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Their numbers, they're upper echelon. And I saw you one day list Kurt Warner as your top 10 quarterback. I almost puked. But anyways, on to Big Ben. So it's very easy. You compare him to his 2 quarterbacks in that draft class. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion, went 3 times. But he also ran into this buzzsaw named Tom Brady, as John mentioned. And I loved your Jordan reference because I was thinking the same thing where I'm like, think about how many teams in the Eastern Conference I look at my Knicks that should have won maybe 1 or 2 championships, but just ran into the buzzsaw of Michael Jordan. Reggie Miller could have probably won himself a ring. And I just feel like Big Ben just ran into that. 2 AFC title games. How many against the Patriots? 2 of them, right? 2 or 3.
It might have been 3.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So going up against them three separate times, man, it's pretty tough to just crucify him for that. I think Big Ben should have a lot more in his trophy case if he wasn't playing in the same conference as Tom Brady and the boys.
Okay. So you guys laid out your arguments and whatnot. Now, let me bring you guys back to a little reality, right? So the question is, do I believe Big Ben is a first-ballot Hall of Famer? The answer is no. Now, if you ask me, do I think he probably will be a first-ballot Hall of Famer? The answer is yes, because of everything you guys just said, okay, the voters are going to look at that. But for me, when we talk first ballot, I don't want the Hall of Fame to start getting watered down like the NBA, where basically any great player can get in. Okay, because this is the Hall of Fame. This is the best of the best. And the first ballot is the elite of the elite. And you guys both brought up Tom Brady. And John even mentioned that Ben was at least a top, I think he said 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 quarterback in his time. Are you sure about that?
Definitively top 5. And I would say he is right in that same category with Brees
because you guys
and
both brought up Tom Brady, but you guys failed to leave out a guy by the general Peyton Manning, Aaron frickin' Rodgers, who actually, I believe, John, you might beat your Steelers in the Super Bowl, beat that very Big Ben and Mike Tomlin team.
Maybe a little tears in the night.
You guys also forgot Drew Brees. Also, Ben Roethlisberger has played a long time. So he played in the era of also Brett Favre. You forget him. And he's also played a long time to play with a new generation, a Hall of Fame already. I don't care what you say. I've gotten on the train. Patrick frickin' Mahomes, okay? These guys, I love Ben Roethlisberger. I don't want this to sound disrespectful. I love Ben Roethlisberger. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He won 2 Super Bowls. He's done all of this for Pittsburgh. He's Pittsburgh through and through. All right. Love Mike Tomlin. But name me the accolades, please. Can you name me the All Pros?
I'm having a hard time here because Calvin Johnson made first ballot Hall of Fame, and he did nothing to Ben. In terms of winning, you love winning. It's the grand all be all.
He's a receiver. He's a receiver. That's different. Receivers
Troy
don't
Polamalu
affect the game like that. Quarterbacks affect winning more than a receiver. A single receiver.
Tomlin and Ben are right underneath Belichick and Brady. Like I said before, that gets watered down, man. Troy Polamalu was a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I just said.
If Troy Polamalu was, and Jack Lambert was,
the greatest strong safety in my opinion. He's the greatest strong safety I've ever seen play in my lifetime.
But if the quarterback position is more valuable, and he's the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, better than Terry Bradshaw, in all due respect to Terry as a Super Bowl MVP and a regular season MVP, Ben was our best quarterback.
John, okay, that's fine, but please answer these. Name me the All Pros, never made first or second team.
Yeah,
that means he wasn't voted as the best. Wait, Justin, just 1 second before. 17 years in the league. This might surprise you. Only 6 Pro Bowls. That's shocking.
You said before Pro Bowls don't matter.
Hold on.
Amen.
I know they don't, but also Ben Roethlisberger played 17 years. He played in an era where the Pro Bowl actually did matter for a little bit. He did, before people started taking off like crazy and not even showing up. But only 6, that's a little, for a first ballot, that's a little low. You don't want me to name Drew Brees', Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning's, Tom Brady's Pro Bowls, okay, because it's going to be laughable. No MVPs, no Super Bowl MVPs, no Super Bowl MVPs. Look, his stats in his 3 Super Bowls: 60% completion percentage, only 642 yards, 3 touchdowns to 5 interceptions.
You know what his winning percentage is in those games? Because winning matters.
He's got 2 rings, but he 66%. He didn't show up though.
Huh?
Look at the numbers I just
gave. He didn't show up.
Did
you not see the throw to Santonio Holmes?
He did make that throw. He did, but I'm looking at all 3 combined together. 3 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. If Tom Brady had a negative interception touchdown ratio, your eyes would widen.
Let me tell you something about Ben Roethlisberger. The first Super Bowl, as a 23-year-old, he did not play well in against Seattle. And guess what? No. It did not matter.
They won, yeah.
Why? The defense, the players around him. He was the young guy. He was the one that brought them there. Why? Did you forget about the play he made against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis before? The tackle? Game-saving? Without that, Peyton Manning goes to the Super Bowl that year. And then you go to a second Super Bowl.
Yep.
The defense, I wouldn't say it failed the Steelers, but Larry Fitzgerald exposed them with going berserk on the Cardinals' game-winning drive. And Ben Roethlisberger, despite all kinds of adversity, penalties, one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, drives down the field and makes the greatest throw I've ever seen in 15 years watching the NFL in the Super Bowl.
And guess what? Wasn't Super Bowl MVP.
And guess
why not?
I don't
means
vote.
The voters said he wasn't the best player on the field.
And guess what? He made the greatest play. And I think he should have won it. But Santonio, at the same time, he made one of the greatest catches. Yeah. One of them had to win it. You look at the third one versus the Packers. He played fine. Wasn't a great showing. It reminds me a little bit of what Aaron Rodgers usually is in the playoffs, where we don't actually discredit him for not playing at a standard of excellence in the regular season. He was good. He was fine. He had, I believe, 2 turnovers, one of which was costly, very costly. But at the same time, his teammates made mistakes. Rashad Mendenhall had a back-breaking fumble, and that took all the momentum and stole it from Pittsburgh and put it in Green Bay's hands. The first one was bad, he won. The second one, he showed up when it mattered most. Solid performance, elite play at the very end, and he won. The third one, the team didn't play well enough, and Green Bay was the better squad. And guess what since then? He's put up easily Pro Bowl numbers, and he's played in the NFL for 17 years on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Never played for a different team. There's value in playing for, unlike Brett Favre, played for Pittsburgh Not just any team. Tom Brady, even. He didn't spend an entire career in New England, did he? How many quarterbacks can you say spent their entire career with the one franchise that drafted them that also happens to be one of the 2 or 3 greatest in the league? To me, it's the greatest, the most storied. And he was a piece of that story. You don't have it without him.
And I'm not discrediting that. I'm giving him his glory. He's a Hall of Fame player. He's not first ballot. Name me the first team All-Pros. Name me the second teams. 6 Pro Bowls in 17 years. You can't explain that. No MVP.
That's tough with 2 of the greatest, my top 2 greatest quarterbacks of all time.
And that's my point, Justin, time out. That's my exact point.
Okay,
you were in an era.
Okay, they were the top 2 quarterbacks in the AFC.
Aaron Rodgers
was number 3.
In AFC
in the AFC.
Back then,
Philip Rivers was, garbage.
Yeah, probably Big Ben.
It's
or
Big
Philip
Ben.
Rivers. They probably were arguing.
And honestly, I don't think it goes like that. Maybe in 2007, sure, but Ben Roethlisberger.
But we're talking the whole NFL. We're not just.
No, but I'm talking right now. AFC in his conference. What stood in his way from? And he never did anything beautiful. Ben Roethlisberger's not cute. He didn't make the cute, flashy plays or anything
no, he
like
didn't.
that. It was always ugly. It was always tough. It was always rugged. That's how he got it done. Ben Roethlisberger was a winner, man. The only thing I'll ever discredit him for is his period of time with the Killer Bees when he had Bell and AB out there, and even Martavis Bryant. Those teams should have won a Super Bowl. If there was any team that could have finally gotten past New England, it was those. Those will be the only times I could discredit him. But outside of that,
but that's what I'm saying, Justin. That's my whole point. Is he played in an era with these guys, and if you're saying he played in an era with these guys, that means he wasn't the best of the best because people were better than him, which means he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer because he was outplayed by these other guys, 4 or 5 other guys that I named you.
Let me say something about that Killer Bee era. So, guys, the best team in the NFL does not always win the Super Bowl. Rarely.
No, but
it's a war. Let me say something, though. When the Steelers won the Super Bowl in 2005 as the last seed to make the conference, it was because Carson Palmer shredded his knee against them in the wild card. Without that, the Steelers do not beat the Ravens and then go on to win a Super Bowl for Jerome Bettis. Then you look at 2016, and there's this funny thing that happens. Le'Veon Bell goes down against the Bengals with his MCL, does not play for the postseason. Antonio Brown, out thanks to the Bengals and Vontaze Burfict, one of the stupidest plays I've ever seen. So now you're missing those two key pieces. Martavis Bryant was suspended for, I believe, part of that season. He comes back. But D'Angelo Williams, one of the best backup running backs at the time, he then goes down with, I believe, a foot injury. So we're missing our top 3 weapons, and all we have is Martavis Bryant. Ben, by the way, could barely move his shoulder because there was a serious injury to his AC joint days before, or a week before. And even still, he thoroughly outplayed the Broncos' Brock Osweiler in that game. And throwing to Sammy Watkins, I think, Eli Rogers, and then Martavis Bryant, he almost brought him to the Super Bowl. And that Broncos team went on to win Peyton Manning that last Super Bowl. The Steelers were the better team that year because without their 3 top weapons and Marquise Pouncey, the best center in football who tore his ACL, by the way, in that season, the Steelers were going to be the Broncos, but the offense did not have anywhere near enough talent, and that was one of Ben's craziest showings. They still would have had to go through
the Patriots, though.
He put up 300-plus yards against the best defense in the NFL that game.
Patriots in the playoffs. Never.
Yeah. Is Patrick Ewing and Hakeem Olajuwon, are they not definitive Hall of Famers? Is Hakeem's a bad example because he never lost
not
to
a Hall of Famer. Did I ever once say Ben Roethlisberger?
You said he'd eventually get in.
He is a Hall of Famer. I'm arguing first ballot. And like I said in one of my first sentences I said, I don't want to water down the NFL Hall of Fame like the NBA Hall of Fame because people get in that don't really deserve to get in, or didn't, I should not deserve, earn the right to get in. This is the elite company. And now we're even talking the elite of the elite because we're going first ballot. And you bring up these injuries and these what if scenarios. Yeah, what if? Guess what? In 2012, when the Patriots played the Giants, if freaking Gronkowski wasn't injured, we would have won that Super Bowl easily. All right. If Asante Samuel would have caught that interception in the final drive against Eli Manning, we would have went 19-0 and had the greatest team NFL history. If Drew Brees and the Saints don't get that pass interference call on them, the worst call in NFL history in the championship game against the Rams, I believe, they probably move on to the Super Bowl maybe. Like if Phillip Rivers, if he doesn't tear his ACL in the playoffs in 2007, maybe they give the Patriots a run for their money. There's these what ifs. We can't. He didn't do it. His legacy is cemented. It's done. He can't do anything to change it anymore. So we have to base off what he has laid out. And you still have not given me where are the All Pros, where are more Pro Bowls, where are the MVPs, where are the Super Bowl MVPs? There are none. You can't give me them. So he is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I apologize. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a great player, but
what about his accumulation of touchdowns? He's a top 10 in all-time touchdowns, top 10 in yards.
Justin, I'm not arguing he wasn't great over a long period of time. He was. That's great. That's more of a longevity stat. Give me the things I just asked for.
Brandon,
until you give me those, I'm not changing my point.
You value winning, though. It's grand all be all, right?
Yes.
Ben Roethlisberger is one of the winningest quarterbacks in NFL history. He did that, been there, and like Justin said, he lost to Tom Brady 3 times in the postseason. There's a good chance one of those years, maybe his rookie year, he goes to the Super Bowl and wins it. And if that were the case, without Brady, he could have been a 3 or 4-time Super Bowl champ.
And to me, again, you just gave a caveat without Brady. Okay, if Peyton Manning and Eli Manning's parents didn't meet, guess what? Tom Brady would have went 10 for 10 in the Super Bowl. Okay, don't give me the what ifs anymore. And I guess I value winning, but I also said earlier, it's winning, it's accolades, it's accomplishments, it's stats, it's eye test. Ben Roethlisberger doesn't have the accolades.
Do moments not matter in the biggest stage? They don't matter.
He's right in the sense that he doesn't have the accolades.
Does impact matter? Does impact matter? The impact of changing the quarterback position, because now all of a sudden you see guys that are being compared to Ben. Oh, he's Ben Roethlisberger. We're using Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. He changed the way the position is viewed. These gunslingers that are giants. They could be an offensive lineman almost.
But also that doesn't make you a first ballot Hall of Famer.
As a guy that spent 17 years playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mr. Reliable,
with 6 Pro Bowls.
That
so 11
matter.
of the years he wasn't even a Pro Bowl.
You said yourself, Pro Bowls don't hold weight, and especially when you're playing with the 2 greatest quarterbacks at the same time in the same conference, that holds especially true. Because you know who was making Pro Bowls over him those years? Guys like Phillip Rivers or an Alex Smith, and they were not better than Ben.
Phillip Rivers is actually an 8-time Pro Bowler. Tony Romo made a second-team All-Pro. Ben Roethlisberger's got none. How do you explain that?
How many Super Bowls do those guys have? Remind me. How many times have they been to that stage?
They don't. But how many Super Bowl MVPs does Ben Roethlisberger have? Because now if you want to compare,
he won the Super Bowl.
He did win the Super Bowls, but now let's compare
him again. It's like the Steph Curry thing, dude. I don't get it.
Hold on, John, hold on. I gave you quarterbacks that really aren't on Ben Roethlisberger's level, let's be honest. All right, let's give you the people that are better than him. Brady, Rodgers, Brees, Peyton. You can't compare them. So he's not first ballot.
Do you understand how short of a list that is?
There's more. I can name more. Brett Favre. I can go. I don't have my top 10 quarterback list of all time on my hand, but I can name more. Like, let's be honest, man.
What we're being honest about, that Ben changed the quarterback position as a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he represented the city of 6 rings like no other, with the greatest Super Bowl moments making it to there, or just winning the game itself. That he was thoroughly one of the greatest winners, that put up some of the greatest numbers, and was one of the most efficient players at the position by far.
Interesting you say that, but he's got no All-Pros or MVPs to show for it.
But who cares about the accolades?
I also consider his division too. The division that he played in was no slouch. He was going against some tough Ravens defenses, as opposed to, and not a knock on Brady and Peyton, but you're playing against the Jets and the Bills, the Dolphins. Peyton Manning going against the Texans and the Jaguars and the Titans. The competition level to get to the postseason they had bye weeks almost every year.
Again, though, you know? I'll give Ben Roethlisberger credit for that, but I won't take it away from Peyton and Brady, because you are dealt the card you're dealt.
100%.
You have
You're
to play.
100% right.
You have to play the hand you have.
But isn't it
not your choice who makes the schedule?
But that's where I say it just. betters his argument as a Hall of Famer,
It
as a
does.
first ballot
But
Hall
then
of
but
Famer.
then we get to the nitty-gritty because we're splitting hairs here. We're splitting hairs here again. We're talking first ballot, so we got to nitpick, right? We have to, because I don't want to water it down, and I don't think you guys want to have the Hall of Fame watered down.
100%.
It's first ballot. So give me the accolades that I asked for, and you can't produce them because they never happen. So I'm sorry. I love Ben, like I said before already. He's great. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's not first ballot.
You said Drew Brees was better. Unlike Drew, it's more impressive that Ben didn't spend his entire career playing in a dome or on the West Coast. He was playing in Pittsburgh. How many guys can play there?
Again, I'm not.
How many?
I'm not holding that against.
It adds to the impressiveness. The magnitude.
Okay, that's fine. You can give that to him.
Not everyone can play in
New
Pittsburgh.
England for how many years too? Peyton played in
Exactly. Exactly. You're bringing up the two greatest. That's the point, man.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. So we're comparing. I just got finished saying this is, we're nitpicking. We're splitting hairs. So we have to compare him against the best of the best. So if he's getting compared against the best of the best and he doesn't match up, what happens? He gets the boot. And I'm sorry, but this is how it is. It's competition. You were at the best of the best. You were still great. You were just there. You were right freaking there. But guess what? You were born in an era with Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, and Drew Brees, and new breeds like Patrick Mahomes, and people that freaking flushed out, who I believe, I don't even actually want to get into that. That I'm not going to leave that out. But my argument still stands about those other players. Like, I'm sorry, but we're running in circles here. But until you produce those accolades that I'm asking for, I'm not changing my mind.
I think we'll just agree to disagree.
If that's your criteria, man, and you value winning at the same time for certain subjects, then all right, okay.
It's a totality thing when you're looking at their career. It's totality. It's everything. You got to look at everything. That's what I'm looking at.
Pro Bowls veto the greatest moments, the impact, the magnitude of playing for one of the greatest organizations in your entire career and being the emblem of that organization. I agree, because Terry Bradshaw was first ballot Hall of Fame, but Ben Roethlisberger isn't. Although he
I don't agree with that. If you ask me, Terry Bradshaw is first ballot Hall of Famer, no.
Well, yes, and that is the criteria.
But that also was a different. We have to be honest. That was a different time,
different era,
and the stats were actually probably good back then.
Well, he was
even
MVP.
though we look at them now and they were crap. Let's be honest, they're crap.
He won 4 Super Bowls in 6 years, and he was.
I understand that, but like if we look at the stats compared to nowadays, different era. So those stats were good back then. I don't agree he was a first ballot Hall of Famer, but
the difference between the two
accolades not in the conversation. If we're just talking winning football and who's going to win us a game, I'd take Ben Roethlisberger over a lot of people.
So would I, but not the best of the best.
But like I said,
would you, and neither would.
He's a Hall of Famer.
He is.
Well,
even John, as a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, would take the GOATs of this sport over Ben. Maybe he wouldn't say it because I understand the love, but in his mind, he knows.
He knows.
If he had Tom Brady, you would have won more Super Bowls.
Ben Roethlisberger wasn't Brady, but he was Pittsburgh.
Okay.
He was Pittsburgh.
And I give you that.
And to me, if you're an all-time Pittsburgh Steeler great that contributed to the dynasty like that, I think his resume speaks to itself.
You got to win 3 championships. You got to win 3 championships to be a dynasty.
Okay. So now moving forward to the 2022 NFL season. One of the most interesting things, I'm not really too crazy on fantasy football, but I always look forward to who are going to be the biggest breakout players, whether it be a second or third year guy when it's battled injuries, new circumstances. And there's a couple of guys going into this NFL season that I am really looking forward to watching. I'm sure you guys got a few as well. And there may be a team even. Would one of you, Justin, let me hear what I think you believe. I believe you have a breakout team. I'm curious.
Oh yeah. So if we're going to start with my breakout team, as much as it pains me to say, I think the Miami Dolphins are going to put on a show. I really think so. I think with their speed demons out there with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, I think they might have one of the most unguardable offenses in the league. New head coach coming from San Francisco, little Kyle Shanahan tree. I think Miami has a lot to be excited about, and rightfully so. They deserve it as a fan base.
They've been robbed for how many years?
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. What do you think's gonna be better, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, or Waddle and Tyreek Hill? Because the Eagles also got Quez Watkins as that third guy. You got him too. Taking Miami? I'm taking Miami or Tyreek.
I'll take Miami.
Because
probably Miami. Even though I love me some A.J. Brown.
He was hurt last year.
Devonta Smith would have been great. Or is going to be great. Sorry, I was thinking about the New England Patriots drafting him that year, and it would have been great. But it didn't happen.
I've got a guy on the Bears at wide receiver that it's interesting. You guys may know him, former 5th round pick. Allen Robinson is gone. I'm looking at Darnell Mooney in year 3 to produce even more than he did last year. Last year, he led the team in yards, receptions, hit the 1,000 yards club. And when you look at the rest of that Bears receiving core, yeah, it's not very good, to say the least. And I think as bad as the Bears will be this season, this is for them a tanking year. I think, to me, that they will be the worst team in football this upcoming season, and that's to be expected. They're basically trying to clean up that mess that Ryan Pace left the new regime, and it's going to take them 2 years at least to really climb out. Justin Fields is going to struggle, but I expect him to still be better. With Mooney, the expectation has been the number 1 now. I think with the level of opportunity, the Bears are going to be down so often, they're going to be throwing the ball a good amount. And to me, as number 1 on that team, I wouldn't be surprised if he eclipses 1,250 yards. And he only had 4 touchdowns last year. This last year, he hit 1,000. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 8 or 9 touchdowns opposed to 4. And I think he could have 100 receptions because you look at the Bears' offense. You have David Montgomery. I'm sure he'll get a lot of touches. Cole Kmet, he could have a good year as a year 3 tight ends. You look at Velus Jones, Khalil Herbert at running back, Aquinius St. Brown from the Packers. I apologize for likely mispronouncing his name. It's not very good. I think we could all agree with the level of opportunity he's going to get. I believe him and Fields will work well together. I think that will be one thing the Bears will have. Like I said before, I think Cole Kmet could be really good with opportunity as well. But Darnell Mooney is one receiver I'm really looking forward to seeing. If you're a fantasy football guy, he may be good for you. I don't know. I'm kind of a nerd. Not a nerd at fantasy. I'm not very good at it. But he's one of those guys, man. He could be one of those ones. A Pro Bowler next season, I would not be surprised. He can get double-digit touchdowns, and I wouldn't be shocked.
The volume will definitely be there for him, so I think I agree with that one.
And there's one more. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler. He is a second-year player, former second-round pick, out of the University of Penn State. And his name is Pat Freiermuth. Let me tell you, this man can ball. And Steelers fans know that. I think we all know that. Last year, he had 7 touchdowns and 9 starts. And that's the thing. He only started 9 games last year. He played in 16. He dealt with 2 different concussions during the season. He was in and out those weeks, and he still appeared in plenty of games. He had a little bit over 400 yards. The one distinct difference this year for me will be the running game improving. And the Steelers' new quarterback, I think it'll be Mitch Trubisky in week 1. It's not going to be making throws down the field. Even if Kenny Pickett, let's say week 5, becomes the starter, the Steelers' offense is going to play within itself. They're going to focus on the way it was in 2019, running the ball, winning the game at the scrimmage, and basically setting themselves up to run a little play action, which was something they couldn't do with Ben. And I think with Pat Freiermuth this year, getting a quarterback who can move out the pocket when a play breaks down and can get on the ball on third down for short yardage plays, he's going to be the second coming of Heath Miller. I think in the red zone, he's going to be an even bigger problem because the Steelers' offense is going to be better this year. I think you guys would agree with that. The O-line improved. Yeah, a little more dynamicism on the outside. And there's going to be so much pressure by Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. I think the middle of the field is really going to open up for Pat to get a lot of volume there. And I think that's going to be a safety blanket and also a reliable thing they can go to when the play breaks down. He will be all reliable. I wouldn't be surprised with him healthy and the full-time starter, he develops as a run blocker, and he maybe gets himself 11 touchdowns in year 2. I don't think he'll have more than 800 or 900 yards. I think 750 is probably the range for him. But if he can get 80 catches, 750, 11 touchdowns, I think next year Pat Freiermuth can be one of the ones at the tight end position, a top 5 player. All the attention's going to go to Kyle Pitts, but let me tell you, man, he had more TDs, and this dude is a bona fide stud. With a new quarterback, people will see that this season. Watch him out. Watch him.
Mm-hmm. So for me, you guys did it so eloquently how you guys went into all that, your little soliloquies and whatnot. It was very good, very good. For me, I'm going to change up my game plan. I was going to give you this guy first, but I'm just going to erase him. So I'm going to give you somebody that I can actually speak to 100%, that I truly 100% is going to be a breakout player and can be if given the opportunity. And when I say his name, you're going to understand why I say if given the opportunity, because of the offense he plays in and the style that they play. And it's for my hometown, New England Patriots. It's Kendrick Bourne. I mean, I know me and Justin had a conversation about a year ago before the season started. He was all in on Jacoby Myers and whatnot, and I was not in on Jacoby Myers. The receivers that we were bringing in, I was like, I don't believe in Nelson Aguilar. I think that was proven. I think I was proven right about that.
Yeah.
But one person that I did catch my eye, because when all those guys got signed, I started looking stuff up to get myself familiar, and Kendrick Bourne caught my eye. He really did. The agility, the way to get open, when he's got the ball in his hands, he could. What I describe him as is he's a playmaker. When the ball is in his hands, he makes a play. He's gonna do so, and I saw it countless times when Jones would throw him the ball, he would make a play. Jacoby Myers is more of a possession receiver. He's going to catch it. He's not really going to do anything with it. And I think that the no touchdown or one touchdown in his career shows that he's going to get his yard. He's going to get those 10-yard catches and then, get tackled and stuff. But Kendrick Bourne, with the ball in his hand in open space, can do some things. Justin can even speak to this. I know he saw it when Kendrick Bourne, man, that kid, he can ball. And I think he should be our number one. I think he's our number one talent-wise because, playmaker.
How do you feel with not Devontae Parker in the mix? How does that play with Kendrick Bourne's potential this upcoming season?
And that's exactly what I said about if he gets the opportunities, because we know how Bill is. We know it's every position is by committee. You're not really going to be a star unless you're the level of a Gronk, or you get the type of respect a Julian Edelman had. You know what I mean? In the more recent years. So for me, it's I hope he gets it. I hope Bill saw it. I mean, because I saw it, and I'm a layman's compared to Bill Belichick. I mean, I know nothing compared to him, so I hope he saw it. When that kid got the ball in his hand, made plays, man. And if he just got if he got the opportunity Jacoby Myers was getting, the numbers would have been much better. Touchdowns would have been higher. Yards would have been higher. Yards after catch would have been higher. He knows how to make plays. Devontae Parker, I don't believe in yet because it's just he hasn't been able to stay healthy. We haven't really seen him with a true quarterback, so we don't even really know his full potential. Maybe, but I have my eye on Kendrick Bourne. He's somebody who, when I'm watching on TV, I go, oh, he catches my eye. He jumps off my screen.
You know where Kendrick Bourne went to college?
No. Somewhere in California or no?
Eastern Washington.
Eastern Washington.
You know who also went to Eastern Washington at the same time?
Who?
He is a Super Bowl MVP.
Super Bowl MVP? That's all I'm getting is he's a Super Bowl MVP.
One-time Pro Bowler.
One-time Pro Bowl. Joe Flacco?
No, Joe Flacco's Delaware.
He averaged 115 yards a game this last season.
Is it Jules? Is it Julian?
This last
No.
season, he averaged 115 yards a game. 114.5.
Yeah, my bad. That was stupid. I'm thinking of the Super Bowl MVP. You got me.
One-time Pro Bowler, one-time All-Pro.
He's got a Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah. He went to Eastern Washington with him.
Okay. Why didn't you just say it? Making me look stupid.
It's going to be a guessing game. This is going on TikTok. This is for
Julian.
TikTok, bro.
I was so stuck on Super Bowl
TikTok
MVP.
will
I
get
was
on me for that.
Like, what?
That was
But
good.
listen, Kendrick
cool.
Bourne is no joke, though, man. He really stood out amongst the Patriots wide receiving core. I look back at that Dallas game when he torched Diggs going down the field. That stuck out. That was incredible. And the catch he made against Cleveland too.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool one. I like Kendrick. I think that's nice.
It all happens though if he gets the opportunities.
I also want to give a quick shout out to a Denver Bronco, Javonte Williams. Jerry Jeudy's another one people throw around being able to play off of Russell Wilson. And Jerry last year suffered injury early on. I think he only started in 4 games. And he had a very disappointing sophomore year. But when you're going from your number 3 being Drew Lock to your number 3 being Russell Wilson, there's a clear delineation. And you see what DK Metcalf was able to produce, Tyler Lockett. Those guys, when we compare them to Jerry Jeudy coming out, they didn't have that same level of hype. Now for Jeudy in year 3, healthy, he gets an off-season to work with Russ. I think that could be a big-time breakout player. Maybe gets 1,000 yards, 8 or 9 touchdowns. His route running and all that stuff could be on full display. And Javonte Williams, let me tell you, I'm a big Najee guy, but he was one of the biggest deals of the 2021 NFL Draft. His ability to break tackles, that dude is a stud. I think he could be a top 5 running back this season. I wouldn't be surprised if he's. We obviously got Jonathan Taylor, we got Henry, we got Dalvin Cook, McCaffrey, and Barkley will both be healthy. But Javonte's young, he's juiced up, he's got this quarterback now, and I think Russ is going to take so much pressure off of those talented players. Cortland Sutton's another one who suffered injury. There's a lot of talent there. And I think Denver could be a top 7 or 8 offense with all that he has to work with. They got a solid tight ends. Alberto. Oh, it's a tough one.
It's probably the toughest division in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I mean, don't sleep on the AFC North, man. But I mean, yeah, it is the toughest, I will admit. But one of those guys in the Broncos, whether it's Javonte or Jerry Jeudy, will definitely break out playing with a Hall of Fame quarterback for sure. Yeah. And we got one last topic. Brandon, we were talking about this briefly before the show started. Our top 5 rankings coming into the season. Team
top
rankings.
5 teams on paper.
On paper? Yeah, excuse me. On this day, June 22nd, 2022. You want to start off for us?
I'll start it off. So I'm going to go from 1 to 5. I got the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, Los Angeles Rams. I mean, the team is just stacked. They put so much into it. I don't even need to go. Number 2, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady's at your helm. You still got. I know Chris Godwin's coming off an injury, but we'll see how. Maybe they add another guy. I don't know. Maybe a guy by the name of OBJ. Who knows? You still got Mike Evans. You guys still got a team around them. I mean, it's Tom Brady. Never betting against Tom Brady. Number 3, again, we're going on paper. Los Angeles Chargers. They've got a really good team all the way around. Good offense. People for Justin Herbert to throw to. Austin Eckler out of the backfield, and he can catch the ball. He's still got Joey Bosa on the D line. Then I got the Buffalo Bills. On team, I can't. The entire team, it's a very good team. They just added Von Miller to that team. Let's see how much of a big production he can give, because it was really Aaron Donald doing the heavy work and giving Von Miller more one-on-one coverage when he came to the Rams. And then maybe a shocker, but I don't think so, because they've they've had the team for the past like 3 years since the guy that they drafted over a decade ago retired, right when they started getting their stuff together. And now they got Matt Ryan, former MVP quarterback, made it to the Super Bowl. The Indianapolis Colts. I mean, there's really not really a weakness on that team. Like, that team is stacked. You've got probably the best offensive lineman in the game right now in Quentin Nelson. Jonathan Taylor, arguably the best running back in the game. Now you've got Matt Ryan at the helm instead of Jacoby Brissett. I think the Colts on paper, they look really good.
Where do you rank Cincinnati?
I don't have them ranked, but they're probably right up there. They're probably right up there.
Oh, okay. Justin, you want to hit it?
Yeah, sure. I got a follow up with Brandon. At number one, I got to go with the defending champs. I mean, that team is just loaded with Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald on defense, and then you add one of the best middle linebackers in the game and Bobby Wagner on top of that. Jesus Christ, that's frightening for any offense. So I got the Rams number one. Number two, sorry, Brandon, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. I really think that they were just a coin flip away from going to a potential Super Bowl. And this season, they might right their wrongs and things will be all right. Josh Allen, Super Bowl all the way. Number three, I got Tom Brady and the Bucs. Having Tom Brady back in the fold is incredible. They lose Gronkowski now that he retired. But that team, all in all, is stacked from offense, defense, offensive line, special teams. There's nothing that team does wrong as long as they're healthy. Number four, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. I understand they lost Tyreek Hill. They've lost a couple bodies. Patrick Mahomes started off the season a little funny. He had some weird spots. Looked like he was struggling. It was like we weren't watching the superstar that he always was, but he found his footing. I could see him getting back to that MVP form. I got the Chiefs at number four. At number five, this is going to shock you guys. I loved your Colts pick because I was debating that I have them at 6, but this 5 spot, I'm actually going with the San Francisco 49ers.
Interesting.
I get it. There's no quarterback. We don't know where they're going with their quarterback situation. It could be Jimmy G. Jimmy G just brought him to the NFC title game. Or they can go Trey Lance, the more dynamic. And the kid looks great in camp from what I'm hearing. And he had one NFL start where he looked very good. But that team from top to bottom, from wide receivers to defense, is frightening. And I think if they get their stuff together at the QB position, that team can go to a Super Bowl.
At number one, I had the Buffalo Bills. I think, quite honestly, they had one of the most underrated off seasons. You bring in Khalil Shakur out of Boise. He is the perfect utility piece in that offense. You add in Dalvin Cook's younger brother at running back. You add a little bit more to that backfield. You talked about Von Miller, of course, too. Then Jamison Crowder as well in the slot. There is so much potential in the receiver room, though they lost Cole Beasley, to continue getting better offensively. All the weapons they have. Devin Singletary, if he's healthy, you have Zach Moss coming in year 3. I think that offense, with Josh Allen continuing to improve, is going to be easily one of the top 3 in the game. The defense, too, it's going to be strong. With the Rams, I think their offseason, slightly overrated. You lose Andrew Whitworth, Von Miller as well. That hurts. Those are quality starters. And now you're going to also flip Robert Williams into Allen Robinson. But A-Rob last season was not himself playing in Chicago. He was not that number one. Darnell Mooney, who we were talking about before, was the main guy there. And I wonder if Allen Robinson, if we've already seen the best from him. If that's the case, I think the Rams are still the best team in the NFC. But when I price in what the Bills can be and what the Rams can be next season, I think the Bills have more potential than them. I think adding Bobby Wagner is big as well. But even with him, like Allen Robinson, we've seen his best football. Is he going to continue to regress? That's one interesting note that I'm not sold on. So we'll have to see this upcoming season. And after those two teams, as a Steelers fan, I went back and forth between 3 and 4. I have the Bengals at number 3. You look at Joe Burrow with a full offseason, a normal one, more specifically with those guys. You massively overhaul the offensive line. The defense is still going to have so many playmakers on it as well. The offense is just way too dynamic. And if you're giving Joe Burrow time in the pocket, he could easily be an all-pro this upcoming season. And when I say that, I'm looking at what he was to end last year because he tore up the NFL. And who's to say Jamar Chase won't get better too? T. Higgins. That could be the best 1-2 punch in the AFC at the receiver position. And it pains me to say. Number 4 out of the Chargers, you guys hit it well. Their offseason was pretty awesome. You added so many stars. They really just needed to shore up that defense big time. I thought the Mike Williams extension was interesting. We'll see if he can live up to that billing. But you add in all those playmakers you guys mentioned. The Chargers, they're going to give the Rams the money. They're going to make the playoffs this coming year. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have a better record, because the potential with that team, just like Buffalo, is high. Now, last but not least, number 5, the Buccaneers. We'll see. They had the same team, very similar. I think, well, no Antonio Brown. That's one of the losses, but I mean, you add stability. You know, no Antonio Brown is less chaos and dysfunction. You know what you're getting. I think bringing Godwin back, I think even though he tore his ACL, I believe by November, they have the depth around Mike Evans where they can be solid. And then he comes back by the playoffs, he'll be ready to go. Rob Gronkowski retired yesterday. I didn't mention that this episode. Is he the greatest tight end of all time? Because to me, I've had too many nightmares to say no, personally.
Go ahead, Justin.
I'd have to say yes, man. I think I've never seen a more dominating. Okay, growing up, there's 3 players that I knew day in and day out were going to dominate, no matter who was guarding them. There was Randy Moss, there was Calvin Johnson, and there's Rob Gronkowski. I don't think there's any tight end that I've ever seen own a game at his healthiest. There's nobody better.
Oh boy, this is an interesting one for me. So I haven't really done sufficient research on that right now. I made a list a couple of years ago when I think Gronk retired the first time. So he's obviously since then added more statistical stats have gone up. He won another championship, for God's sakes, and whatnot. And I think I'm going to, on the fly, change up my list because for me, this is going to be, I'm going to admit it up front, this is a personal bias right now. My number 1 tight end is who I would pick if I was general managing a team. Who do I want as my tight end? If I have the pick of anybody, all the greatest tight ends, who I want Shannon Sharp because he embodies everything that I want out of a tight end. Loudmouth, not afraid to get down and dirty in the trenches. Great run blocker for his size. He's like 6'2", 6'3", still packing a punch by 250 plus. But man, the guy was a great run blocker. And then receiving wise, he was doing what. Imagine Shannon Sharp in today's NFL. The guy's stats would be insane. His speed, he's what O.J. Howard should have been. O.J. Howard's speed and all that stuff that they were talking about, Shannon Sharp was that. Shannon Sharp's speed out of the tight end position was unmatched. Still is. I don't think another tight end is going to be as good as him how fast he was. Just look at his stats that he put up. They're very comparable. And like I said, it's more of a bias. Like, this is who I would want personally. Shannon Sharp. I love the swagger. I love the confidence he has. And it's just big play Shay is what they call him, right?
Okay, can I read something off to you guys real quick?
Go ahead.
Rob Gronkowski, 4-time Super Bowl champion, 4-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler. We don't want to count Pro Bowls, so I'll take that out. NFL Comeback Player of the Year. Most touchdowns ever in a season by a tight end with 18. Most 100 yards game ever by a tight end with 32. And he is a dominant blocker. Come on, man. Arguably the most talented tight end we've ever seen.
Can I add to that? Tony Gonzalez in 2004. By any time, I'm going to counteract that. How often do we see a tight end lead the NFL in receptions and also yards per touch in the same season? Think about how crazy that is. Because Tony Gonzalez did that in 04.
In 04 too.
And he also made, 6 All-Pros. 6 straight All-Pros is, insane. And oh, by the way, actually, it was 9 All-Pros. Wait. Oh, no. Okay, so it was 9 total All-Pros in 10 years. But 3 of those were second. All-Pro second team. Okay. Think about that. That's wild. The 1 year was 2005.
Like I said, with Shannon Sharp, I don't have his statistics up in front of me, but if you do look at it, they're not comparable to Tony Gonzalez because his numbers blow everybody out of the water as far as tight end numbers wise. But with Gronk, the numbers are comparable, and they're also comparable to if you have other great tight ends, like to name a few, Antonio Gates, Jason Witten, Travis Kelce, if you want to, new era, and some old heads like Kel Winslow Sr., his numbers are comparable. So I just say, like, think about if Shannon Sharp was playing in now's era.
He'd be a
Like,
problem.
the numbers would be a problem, man.
And like you said, he was only 6'2".
That's what I'm
crazy.
saying. He was a receiver coming out of college.
If we want to play the what if games, just imagine if Gronkowski was never injured, if he was always
that is
healthy.
true. The numbers would have been through the roof. They would have. I can't argue that. Can't.
Yeah, what a career he had, man.
What a career he could have had.
He went to high school in Pittsburgh
All
for a
those
year
games.
or two, actually. So he's got a little affiliation with kicking their butt in the playoffs.
Still think of that 2012 Super Bowl against the Giants. If Gronkowski was healthy, man, we win that Super Bowl easily.
Yeah, I always think of the game against the Denver Broncos, AFC Championship game. We lost this game in Denver.
Oh, my God.
But, man, did this guy will us to a comeback. We were so close to winning that game.
You're talking about the 2-point conversion, right?
Yes. Oh, my gosh, man. What a game.
And that's because Gostowski missed the extra point earlier in the game, so he had to go for two.
Exactly.
If he just –
But those are
Super
little
Bowls.
moments that I just think of when you look back at Rob Gronkowski's career, just sheer dominance. I mean, I'm sorry, John, to mention the game against Pittsburgh when he just completely annihilated you guys too long ago. But
let's talk about that game against the now we got the Commanders. That game where he freaking went through 7 tackles in one play. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, the
I
Steelers.
even remember what happened, John?
Steelers always had a great game plan for him. It was kind of just like the leave Rob Gronkowski open situation. We'll see what he does against our secondary. And it never failed to bite us in the worst way. And if it wasn't him, it was Chris Hogan, who's from New Jersey. I'll never forget what he did to those Steelers defenses. Whew, golly, it was ugly. Those secondaries were ugly too.
Now, we were talking about first ballot Hall of Fame. Rob Gronkowski, there's no argument.
Yeah, the slam dunk. So it's not even a question.
What a career.
What a career.
Well, that'll end off episode number 2 of the Wise Guys podcast. Anything you guys want to add?
I just we had a great discussion. I love the passion and the energy from you guys. I'm feeling it. I'm loving it. I feel like this was a great episode. So, yeah.
Well, thank
This
you
was
guys.
fun. I'm just waiting for us to start talking about the Knicks. I'm itching to bring out another shirt for you guys.
For real, we'll be getting that. And
we
don't got. I'm with my
Knicks tape.
Steelers.
Knicks tape.
Yeah, we're gonna have to set that up with it. I don't got any NFL jerseys really at the top. Maybe got a few, but yeah, we'll try to cook up something like that for the next NFL episode. And guess who at the end for sure? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sounds good. But thank you guys again for staying to the very end. This was a lot of fun, and as always, we'll see you next time.
Peace.